Hello, boys and girls from School Breed and St. Fintan's in Mountrath, and hello to the parents as well. My name is Aidan Byrne from Make Mosaic. I'm a mosaic artist based in Burr, County Offaly, and I make the lovely packs that you're hopefully after getting at this stage. And I'm just making this little video to explain a few bits and pieces about the packs. I'm delighted you're doing this project with your child, and I look forward to meeting you all when I can. I do lots of courses with adults as well, and I can explain more about those whenever I see you. Next, I'm going to flip the camera so that you can see the workstation, and I will demonstrate a few little bits about the packs. Here we are at the workstation, and just a few things before we start. I'm here with thanks to Laois Offaly ETB and the Mountrath Homeschools Community Group. And for the parents, it's important that the parents are present here throughout this project to help the kids along. And before you get started, I have a little tray here, and I also have some containers. So the idea is your tiles will come like this in your pack. This is your grout, which is done afterwards. So we're going to put the grout to the side, and the glove for the grout as well, we're going to put that to the side. You will need your board, your glue, and your tiles, your mixing stick, or we use this for lining up the tiles as well, and your template. So all of this will have come in your pack. It will be helpful if you just watch the rest of this video before you jump in and start making. I'm just going to give you a few short tips on how to get started, on how to stay organized. I have a much more detailed tutorial on YouTube. If you go to YouTube and type in Make Mosaic Rainbow Heart, these videos will come up. It's a 40-minute video, but it's a video that you make along to. So if you just pause the video at whatever stage you're at and follow along as you go, it explains everything in detail. Now, it is for the heart, but the same principle applies to every mosaic. It's based on starting with the first line and measuring up your edges and making everything line up. So if you watch the heart one and just copy the same steps for all the rest, doing that along with your template and your instructions, which also come in your pack. These instructions here are step-by-step guide on how to do the whole mosaic. So same thing again, it might not be the same pack as you have in your or the same colors or the same design, but the same principles apply to all the mosaic pixel packs. So the idea of the tray is so that if you take a break, and you probably will need to take a break at some stage after a few lines, and that's okay, it'll be fine, it can wait until you have time again. If you take a break, you'll be able to pick up your tray with all your stuff and just move it out of the way, or moving it to another room until you're ready to come back to it. So for the parents, it's important that the parents are here the whole way through to help out the kids while they're doing this. And it's very important that no toddlers or small children are able to get at all the tiles. We don't want anybody picking up the little tiles, or we want to keep them in the little containers so they don't get spilled and don't get lost. Because if you're missing a few, there are a few extra in each pack, but if you lose lots of them, you won't be able to complete the design. So when you're sorting your tiles, I've just used these little containers. You could use anything at all, a few spare containers around the house, whatever you can find that works. And then maybe a plate, or maybe put them on the tray, or have something to put the tiles out onto, and then you can sort them into their individual colors. You can have a couple of trays depending on how many colors you have. So when you have them all sorted, the next thing to do is to get your glue, and you need to unscrew the top off. And then there's a little black stopper in here. You just get your nail underneath it, and it lifts up. And then you put the lid back on. So I usually keep a wipe handy, a wet wipe or a damp cloth or a tissue just to wipe the glue off your fingers. If you get any on your fingers when it's working, and you can wipe it off the bottom of the stopper. Next, once the white cap is screwed on properly, you unscrew this glue cap, and then your glue should start to pop out. So as I said, the type in Make Mosaic Rainbow Heart to YouTube, and the whole process is outlined on that tutorial from start to finish. I'll give you a quick little demo. So the very first thing we do is we put out a line of glue, and then we go to our template and we see what our first line on our template is. So I use this stick, which we will use to mix the grout at the end. I use this stick to block off all the rows so I can tell which one I'm on. And then I get my tiles, and there's a bumpy side and a smooth side. So we want the smooth side facing up. And this is where your tissue comes in handy, because you will get little bits of glue on your fingers. And sometimes the tiles start sticking to them and moving as you're doing it, which it's better if your hands are clean, the tiles don't stick as much. So you go the whole way across, and don't worry about the going over the edges at the start, because when I have the whole line in, I'm going to come along with my stick again, our multi-functional stick, and I'm going to line it up there, and I'm going to push all the tiles up to meet it, and then I put it along the edge and push them across. So it's okay if they're a bit wobbly as well, but you try keep them straight. So you go the whole way across, and then you move on to your next. We'll clean off our glue off our stick, and then you move it down one more line, and you see that the second line is all blue as well. So obviously you'll have finished out here. I'm not going to do it now because it'll take too long. And then you move on to your third line, and you'll have one blue, one black, and then you count 5 blue, put in 5 blue, and then 1 black, and so on. So it's important to watch the YouTube tutorial as well, and keep checking your instructions so that you understand where you're going. Make sure to take your time and be patient, and don't be hard on yourself. As it's coming along, it might look a bit buckety. Most of the time when they're finished, they look really cool, but you see this one here I made, it's a bit wobbly. So a lot of the time, the wobbly bits can make them look a bit cool as well. Mosaics aren't supposed to be perfect. So if yours isn't looking perfect, don't worry about it, and don't be hard on yourselves. Some of the best art is the ones that are individual and different. So I hope you enjoy the process, and I'm going to show a little bit more. I'm going to move on and show a little bit about mixing the grout, and we'll see after that. The next thing for us to do is to mix our grout. So I recommend putting down some newspaper or some kind of a page under your mosaic before you put the grout on. And when you're mixing, it can be a little bit messy. So this one obviously has grout, but I'm just using it as an example. So you can put your mosaic down here, get a container. Don't have the sides of the container too low, because the grout will start to splash out. Then you'll need a small bit of water, your grout, your glove, and your mixing stick. So I put my grout, this part the parents can do the pouring in the grout. I recommend doing it in a well ventilated area room or outside. You just don't want to be inhaling the dust from the grout. So I'm going to do it here, and I'm going to be very gentle so I don't blow up a load of dust. Okay, so my grout is in my container, and dispose of the bags safely, especially if there's toddlers around. Then I'm going to get my mixing stick. I'm going to put on my glove to make sure I don't get the grout on my hands. And then when you're mixing the grout, it's very important to only use a very small amount of water. So I'm going to measure it with a spoon, and I'm going to pour. We're only using about 10 milliliters of water altogether. I'm going to pour in 1 spoon and then maybe a second spoon. And then I'll start to mix it up. It needs to mix for a minute or two before you add any more water, because it takes a couple of seconds for the water to mix through properly. So those 2 spoons are after doing a lot already. It might even be enough once it's mixed through. What we're looking for here is like a toothpaste consistency, or the consistency of smooth peanut butter. Okay, so that's pretty good for the grout. I'm going to throw in a tiny bit more water to make it a little bit smoother. So I'm going to go with a half a spoon maybe. If you put too much in, it turns into a very slushy, and it doesn't do the job as well. So, and it takes only a tiny bit of water to make it go from being just about right to too wet. So now, 2.5 spoonfuls. All the grout is weighed out to be the same amount. So 2.5 spoonfuls has got me the perfect consistency. And then you use your stick to spread it across your mosaic, and you can use your glove to smooth it in. Use your finger to put it on the edges, and then follow the rest of the instructions that are in your pack. There's a grouting instructions as well. You just sponge it with a damp sponge. You let it dry for about 10 minutes and then sponge it back with a damp sponge. And then after a few hours, you can polish it with a dry cloth. And also you let when you're making the mosaic, you let it dry for a few hours after sticking down the glue. You don't glue it and then grout it straight away. I hope that was helpful, and I can't wait to see all your finished pieces. If you could send them in to Gina at stfintonsbns@gmail.com. Also, I can't wait to meet all of you and all the parents hopefully in the future. Have a lovely Halloween, stay safe and be good. And most important for this project, remember to have patience and take a break if you need. If you want to learn any more about my mosaics, you can check it out at makemosaic.ie. Have a lovely Halloween. Bye bye.